Good afternoon, everyone. Let's just get to this 303. I think we have a quorum. We're going to start the finance committee meeting. We have a packed agenda. So item 1.0 is a convene meeting of the order. We have the second item on the agenda. Approval of the agenda. We have a motion. And I second that. All in favor? Any abstentions? Any oppositions? The ayes have it. 3.0 consent agenda. Do we have a motion to 3.1 and 3.2?
Approved.
So moved. And I second that. And all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any oppositions? The ayes have it. So we have 20 contracts to look into this afternoon. We want to seek your indulgence because we want to take it out of order. Looking at item number 20, being the first to consider. We requested that we do that, and you don't have any objection to that. Does anyone in the room have an objection to that? So we're going to put item 20. So we were saving the big for the last before, but now I think it's the big for the first. So item number 20 is facilities contract. Who do we have here to present this one?
Three of us will.
Three. Okay. Go for it.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Sal Porter, I'm Chief Operating Officer at PPSD. Zach Scott, Deputy Superintendent of Operations. Brian May, Senior Director of Facilities and Technical. And what we have in front of you is our contract summary for the integrated facilities management and our intent to recommend the vendor based on the process. So we'll probably be tag teaming some of this, but just to give you a little bit of background in terms of how this process went. PPSD hired a consultant in November of 2022 to help us craft a solicitation for our facilities meeting service. And then on April 4th, we released a request for proposal to seek an integrated facilities management. We held a mandatory pre-bid conference where 9 potential bidders, potential vendors were in attendance. Out of those 9, 3 submitted a formal proposal. We held mandatory in-person site visits in April with additional optional in-person site visits. We had vendors who submitted questions and those were answered, and proposals from vendors were received in early May 4th of 2023. We held informational meetings at finance committee, school board, school building committee of that progress and that timeline. And we held in-person interviews for the 3 bidders on May 17th. Each bidder that submitted a formal proposal had an opportunity to present. For the interview, we provided feedback based on their proposal, asked questions, clarifying questions, and then just to speed it up a little bit, we asked them to submit a best and final offer by May 30th. And then there's a team that was assembled to review those best and final offers. And what we have out of that is in front of you today is a proposal to, or a recommendation to award that contract. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, just I know we shared this with this committee as well as others before. The intent of doing this, the bid we put out were to move from a level 3 to sort of higher standard. We shared some of what that means in terms of cleanliness in our schools. Moving to a model where it's an integrated facilities management contract, meaning there are vendors that we manage in addition to the facilities management such as pest control that feels that actually, from best practices, is often better managed under one contract. So and then making sure we have a contract that is performance-based, aligning with best practices. And so that's the process that we've been through. So I mentioned the opportunities that have been reviewed today. And just recommend for.
And to just remind ourselves into why we're raising our own internal bar and prioritizing our facilities. For quite some time, we've heard over and over again the conditions of our schools from our students, our families, our community members. And this is more about us raising that bar and being able to provide better, high quality facilities. So if there are no questions with the timeline of that so far, I can move into the actual recommendation that we have in front of you.
Timeline.
So again, what we have, what we're recommending based on the contract is to be awarded to ABM, who was based on the criteria, the highest quality in terms of technical expertise, the highest quality rating, and then was also the lowest bidder over the base period and the 7-year long term of the contract. So just to remind ourselves, our base period is a 35-month month period just to get ourselves aligned to the fiscal calendar. And then there are two-year optional periods that could be extended should the vendor perform to the expectations that we have. And so that long-term contract is a 7-year period altogether. And ABM was again, the lowest bidder in both areas. Any questions on the contract summary?
The question I had was earlier was about the incentive for the comprehensive incentive was included in the basic plan price.
That was a great question. So again, this is a performance-based contract, right? So when you think about that incentive program, it is not built into the finances of what's in front of it in terms of the cost. So if the vendor was performing at their highest level and everything was according to that contract, that incentive could bring the cost up. But at the same time, on a monthly basis, if they're not performing, there are areas in which we can be credited as the district where they're not performing, those also be credited back to the district. So in the long run, the incentive program is not built into there, so the possibility of having additional costs is there, but there's also the possibility of recuperating costs if they're not meeting those standards.
In terms of the funding on those incentives, it's noted that a portion will be either invoiced or will be deducted from the billing. Doesn't look like there's a defined methodology there. Is that like an option that the district could decide based on the factors placed at that time?
Yes, question.
So the billing, it seems that it says here it could be invoiced for those fees, annualized up to 2%, or it could be deducted from invoices. So how will is there a set methodology for that?
So there's the inspections, if I'm reading it correctly.
Under the funding, 11.2.
It looks like we would be invoicing this quarterly, the incentive, which is just the 1% amount. Yeah, I think it is quarterly based on quarterly percentage for in the quarterly invoice. So I would assume it would be deducted and added to the typical payment cadence for that.
Thank you so much for this. This is AP huge contract, and I have the belief that you've done your due diligence. From the timeline you gave us now, we started this from November, so which means we have no doubt in the ability of the district in terms of it crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. And from my understanding, ABM industry is a new one to our district. We've had companies that we've been using before, but can you just bring us to bear on what you think, why you think we should go with ABM industry as opposed to our regular that we're using before?
I'll start again. Some of it came down to the process of reviewing bids. It was both their technical qualifications that they presented as well as the cost of the contract. So just purely on that front, I think the process we put in place was to determine who could provide the best services as well as the cost of the services. I think ABM as a vendor is a $8 billion company nationwide, focuses on facilities management and has a deep footprint in education. I was trying to, I know there's, you have some references of prior school districts that work with.
I know that they work with Chicago Public Schools, I believe, and recently they are also here locally in running diversity. If you scroll down, there's others.
Oh, sorry, right there. K-12, so some are New Haven Public Schools, North Kingstown, and several higher education organizations like Harvard Graduate Ed, Suffolk University, so.
And although we don't have that here, definitely we're going to need it on the larger school board. Because before we get into something like $70-something million, we want to make sure that we have a company with good track record and that will be able to provide the services that so please, it's going to be important for us to have something that tells about the presence, local references, so that we know that what we're going to tell. That's one of my questions. The second question is, so the 35 months basically, I don't have the understanding. So in the first 35 months, we have no option to rescind the contract, just in case something is happening and they're not performing up to expectations. We're kind of bound in that first 35 months. Let me give a scenario so you can explain to me. I want to have that understanding. After the 35 months of this week, we have another 2 optional years, right? And it's in that time of those two years that in case it's not going as we expect, then we can now say, yeah, you're not doing what we want. But is that, am I correct in making that?
So go ahead, I can add.
If I may say a few things. So the term of having those terms of 3 years, 2 years, 2 years helps us lock in some potential pricing longer term versus doing year. So that's part of the reason we do it. We have mechanisms to hold the vendor accountable through the assessments, potential financial penalties. But there's also, obviously, if there's a breach of contract or a gross, continued underperformance, then that you could exit the contract earlier. It would be if you thought there were kind of material breach of that. But it would be for the first 3 years. We help lock in pricing that there aren't any escalators that we would, there's not going to be. You could go 4 or 5%. Like these are the pricing that we have for the next 7 years, which I think is in our favor. So we have the price coming down and potential escalators having to go out for a year or 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of it being in our favor. But at the same time, if it's in our favor and we're not getting the service, the quality of service that is required, it's no longer in our favor. It's a detrimental thing. That's why I just want us to, when we are looking at the final terms of this contract, you should spell everything out. Yes, I know the longer we have the contract, the more we're able to save money. And what we're about is to get the best service at the cheapest and lowest possible cost, which is what you guys are doing. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we have everything in check, just in case things happen. just in case we don't get it up to the standard, just in case anything that happens. So it's like we don't lock ourselves into something that will be regrettable in the future.
Yeah.
So I hope you're looking at that along that arena and you're making appropriate something.
Chair, if I may, Molly Hannon, purchasing, the contract language would actually include 30 days notice for termination for convenience, even without cause.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Molly. I appreciate that's what I was trying to remember. I'm trying to get.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I will add, and Molly, please correct me if I say this wrong, but as I said, this is a performance-based contract, right? So there's accountability measures that currently don't exist in our current contract that would allow the district to be able to say, if you're not performing at the level that you are expected to perform, there are penalties associated with that the district could recuperate that and then execute on it.
Thank you. The other question I'd like to ask, which in the previous briefings, it's with our current vendor. The contract expires in November. We want to start this one if it's approved in August. What is the provision that we make for that situation? Are we going to have two contracts, having the same contract in the same 3 months period? Or what are the, I know you explained that to me, but I just want to have that confidence that, we are covering what we should cover. Because the current contract expires in November. We're starting this one in August. And the reason why we're starting in August is because we want to make sure that we have a full service at the beginning of the school year, which is appropriate. What provisions are we making for the one that expires after August?
We notified the existing vendor of our intent, it was in the proposal, and we reiterated our intent to award the new vendor in August. Beginning of August, so we will intend to negotiations with them about what that means between the August 1 and November 12th. But we certainly can't be operating with two vendors at the same time.
Right.
But that is something we understand we need to discuss with the current vendor about how we transition.
All right, this looks good to me, and thank you for doing what you've been doing, and we hope to have a successful transition to a new agreement. I don't have any other question to ask. Yes. Do you have anything?
The only other question I have is in the proposed budget, it is a miscellaneous item over $2 million. What does that category include? Miscellaneous services.
So some of the items that are included in miscellaneous is automobile fuel and mileage is actually included in miscellaneous taxes and licenses and insurance. And also some of the startup costs are included in that $2 million in miscellaneous items.
Thank you.
The last question, if I may. You mentioned, Sal, that this is performance based. So how frequent, how often is the board expected to get an update on this contract?
That's a good question. I think
We certainly can provide one to the board as frequently as you like. I think in terms of our ability to have kind of an assessment inspection, we would certainly do it in the annual basis, but I think we would generally do frankly that.
they're quarterly basis. On a quarterly basis, we have independent assessments that are happening, but those can be then brought to the board and say as an update, like, here's what we noticed, here's a corrective action plan, here's what we're walking away from that, and that's done from an independent party.
Probably would be very, very good. We would like to, the moment you have it with them, if there's anything, let us know. If it's free thing, no issues, let us know. So at least we will have our ourselves and check. So please, we will appreciate that. I hope you're noting that. That we will need that. That's very good.
Clarifying question. Would a report like that goes to finance or to the full board
both the finance and the school board. Because if we give it also at the school, at the finance committee, we will everything is fine. We don't necessarily have to escalate it to the regular school board unless there's something, variation that is out of whack, out of the threshold. So, I mean, it will be better because sometimes we've had like the review of monthly performance and everything. So it would be good if you have it at the finance committee. And if there's any issue, we can elevate it to the regular school line or tell them that everything is going fine. I don't think that is too much to ask.
It's already something we're doing anyway, so we can share.
Okay, beautiful. So, in the absence of any question, we have a motion to recommend this to you. So moved, and I second that. All in favor? Aye. Any abstention, any opposition to ayes have it. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with the district on this.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go back to the beginning. Handshake. Oh, that's a good one. Let's have an handshake.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, how
My
are you?
name is Cynthia Ramirez, I'm Director of Diversity Recruitment Program Initiatives and Human Resources. And today, we would love to talk about renewing Handshake. So we've used Handshake in the past year, and the contract is up. Year by year, we want to renew it. So Handshake is an online tool or platform that connects students who are on college campuses with open positions. With Handshake, we're able to source to find talent specifically to what our vacancies are from several different schools, about 250 schools at one time. In our search, we can post jobs there as well that will reach every single college and university. And we'll filter students by majors, schools, GPAs, backgrounds, extracurricular programs, anything that we feel will be helpful in sourcing the candidates that we need to fill our open roles. Handshake, we have some metrics from this past year. So we've been able to see increase in applications from Handshake to our open vacancies. We've seen that candidates have engaged with us even more, so we've increased our engagement. We're also able to post any of our events. So your recruitment events, hire fairs, we can post it there and it will go to every single student that we select. So in total, BPSD connected with 728 schools on Handshake this past year, and we had access to 9.6 million students in our reach, which has been very helpful. We have seen the return on that is one of our best recruitment tools that we're using. So that's a little bit about Handshake. And then the package allows us to engage talent, which is the talent engagement suite. It includes smart campaigns based on candidate segments. Analytics is also another part, so we can see if someone opens up an email that we send them, if someone clicks, if they look at the hiring fair campaign that we have going, we can see how many people click open to see our reach and also to pivot when we need to. So that's a little bit about.
Thank you.
We have this regarding the spending breakdown. First of all, I think this is a recent program, but I noticed here there's some items that are deducted if waived. If the fees are waived, if the contract's signed by 5/31/22, but past that date. What does that mean in terms of this proposed budget?
So they're still willing, they knew that we had to wait for the meeting to happen to alter the date for us to meet the need, so we haven't lapsed in our services with them.
Yeah, because I was going to ask the same question that we do about reduction in cost. We do it by 531. So now that it's past 531, it's still
The
okay.
cost is still the same.
Very My other question was related to the actual job application process. Do you know if the vendor helps the applicants with resume writing, mock interviews, to prepare for those?
They do have online tools, and so folks can sign up. We can also schedule figures through Handshake directly to the institutions and host it virtually in those ways. Specifically for the school, it depends on what they're looking for. So Handshake wouldn't house the training for them for that, but they have resources.
Any further questions?
My question is on the offering page. This is working for not
So maybe that should have been changed to 24, just because it would be all of this year and then where we are now,
Trust is already-
23. Trust is already
Contract.
24, yes.
Yeah, we should put effort because we approved this effort because this is a cost that's going to be incurred in the future. So I think it's financial year 24.
Okay.
So please change that. We had the same situation at the last board meeting. So I think these little things need to be taken care of for presenting to the board. So please let us make an adjustment. So if you have no other question, I want to recommend for passing subject to changing the FY 22. You have a motion? So moved and I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstention, any opposition? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thanks for food services.
Good afternoon.
Boss, all right.
Good, how are you? My name is Lino Cambio, Supervisor of Food Service for the district. Thank you for allowing me to present on this contract this afternoon. Just as a point of order, before I begin, you know, I only come before you once a year typically, so I used last year's form for the contract summary, but I do have, I also have them completed on the new form if you want to enter it in as an exhibit, so you guys can have the, so you have both versions of it. So we have a contract here between Providence Public Schools and Sodexo Management for $17,308,108. $17,308,108. That's for the management of food services for all Providence Public Schools, as well as approximately 15 non-public schools that we also vendor manage. As you know, Mr. Chair, an RFP was issued in March of 2019. It was a pretty arduous process we went through. Sodexo was the sole bidder at the time. We convened a selection committee regardless. They received above satisfactory scoring on all of them. I know Mr. Silva was on with me as well. So we awarded it to them. It was a 1-year contract with 4 renewable options. This is the 4th option. So a new RFP will have to go out on the street next year. So basically, it's honestly, it's the same as the breakdown you saw last year. If you have any specific questions on any provisions or the budget, I'm more than happy to answer them for you.
Thank you.
Question I had is regarding proposed budgets reflecting deduction
Yes.
of $1.994516 million. Is that credit, does that fall under the stabilization of prices in agricultural commodity markets? How does that credit?
That's probably a very positive way to look at it. Unfortunately, no. That's those are USDA commodities that we get. So that's the value of the actual physical items that we get through the USDA. It goes through the Department of Defense, but those are actual physical items. They're housed on the grounds of the Pastoral Complex in Grant State, and we have to pick them up. We have full storage. They're literally the USDA ground box items. For things that we can't get, for instance, let's say our allotment was $2 million, and we already used up everything we had. We can reduce the invoices with our supplier. So, for instance, like Cisco, we purchase all of our chicken for them. If there's some commodity chicken dollars and they don't actually have the boxes for us, we'll send it over to them. They'll charge us a processing fee, and we'll get a reduced off our invoice. So it's either a brown box or a reduction of our invoice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No other questions?
Yeah, I think I'm used to this. And,
Yeah, it's pretty much all happened.
I'm looking at this one on the community. So finance guidance. So that's I know some of that contract. So that's what we do for
Yeah, so the 1.2 is the return that they have to give every year. So you take out the reimbursements we get, plus the meals that we vend, you take out the expenses, that has to be 1.2. If not, they would have to contribute to make it work. And just to point out, this contract is one of the very few that actually costs the district no money. Because we get these through federal reimbursements through the National Child Nutrition Programs. Yeah. So it's even so no cost to the district.
And looking at the future,
Yes.
because this is the last year, you said this is the fourth year. So what should we expect? Should we expect the same just come next year? It's no change, despite the fact that inflation has increased, but we're not changing that.
Right.
What we should expect?
So a lot of things might be changing this year with the USDA. They have given some relief funds for basically the pandemic relief funds. We don't know what that's going to look like this year. Rhode Island, actually, to be honest, they just passed their budget, but they didn't include universal meals for our students, and we think that was going to happen. So we'll see some changes when the RFP gets issued. Obviously, we'll certainly engage with the school board and see if there are things that they would like to see on there, and we can make those modifications as we go along.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other questions? So we have a motion to recommend this for general.
So,
I second that. All in favor? Aye. Any oppositions or abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next year.
See you next time.
Yeah.
And no, yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairman Viyemi and Board Member Aiken. I am Christopher Sanacor, and I am the Director of Special Projects for School Improvement under the Office of School Improvement. I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Kristen Hinson, who is the Director of School Improvement, and Principal Nathan Vita from Alvarez High School. Today, we request the board to approve a sole source contract with NAF, formerly known as the National Academy Foundation. NAF is an education nonprofit that supports schools to develop CTE programs. Providence is looking to become a NAF certified district across 3 schools, JSEC, Alvarez, and Mount Pleasant. JSEC will begin a health sciences academy aligned with their biotechnology program. Alvarez will use NAF to enhance their current healthcare career offerings and begin their finance and business pathways. And Mount Pleasant will utilize NAF to enhance their pre-existing pre-engineering program. NAP provides, thank you, Kristen. NAP provides support with structuring course sequences, developing curriculum, providing access to local and national business schools, business networks, and overall expertise to principals and teachers to develop CTE programs. All 3 schools and their respective school leaders are committed to becoming NAP certified and are excited by the opportunity to provide students with greater access to work-based learning opportunities and real-world industry experience. Thank you for your time and consideration in approving the NAF contract, and we are open to any questions you may have.
Right.
this is an excellent program. Professor itself is the F-track certification, those credentials ever expire?
Not that I'm aware of, we have not asked that question, but I believe that it's similar to any credentialing for a CTE program, and that will help the students.
This, my question is on this finance track. What is that? So, the Providence HS finance, what is that?
Yeah, so NAF has what they call Finance Academy. So for any academy that they do offer a curriculum and support with that curriculum, both remote and in person. The Finance Committee, the Finance Academy that exists at North Kingston and Chariho both draw not only students from that from those school districts, but they brought in a lot of out-of-district students who are interested in attending the NAP certification. So they help to build a business program. They do provide a curriculum. They have specific courses students need to take. They have NAP certification. They will help with internship setup and work-based learning, and then they have partners in which will help students as they exit the high school and on to their careers.
And the reason why I was asking that question is that I remember at the point, this was that application, president and the finance committee at that time, that in our curriculum in schools, and that's not only limited to one school, there should be financial counseling as part of the general curriculum that, what we find out is our children, our students in schools, when they get out of the high school, before they get into college, they need to have some basic financial knowledge. And at that time, I spoke with the superintendent that how can we have a uniform thing that based on giving them some, capability. People, they just get credit cards, they think it's fun, and they're not, financial responsibility is very, very important. So that's what I'm asking about.
Yeah, the new state graduation requirements require financial literacy. So for the current seventh graders, I believe, or the students that are enrolling in eighth grade, those students will be accountable to have financial literacy to graduate high school throughout the state. But many of our schools are already implementing plans around that financial literacy. There are several ways to meet the requirement. This is really focused, this programming is really focused at students who would like to go into business or entrepreneurship or finance. And that is something we heard from our students that they felt like was lacking in the district, was this pathway for those kids who wanted to start their own businesses, get into finance careers, go on to business colleges. So that's where this came from. And Mr. Vita has a lot of expertise in that area, and he stepped up to be the space to launch this programming and work with NAP to build out the comprehensive program within Alvarez.
We also visited North Kingstown High School because they have a NAP finance program. And we also spoke with New Bedford High School. We brought Principal Villa and the assistant principal to go to those schools as well in preparation of just doing our research on NAP.
Interesting. I'll be very, very interesting because this is what we need. This is what the students need to be able to get themselves. I think I'm good selfish because I'm a financial person myself. So I know and I think it's important for kids to get that education. That's what I'm talking about. So I would love to see how we get this, not only for Judge Alvarez and possibly any other school that would be willing to go to that track. So thank you so much. We really support of this and we hope it will come out successful, especially with the principal who has some finance value to music. So, all right. So this is great. This is good. This is great. We do have a motion to recommend this to passing. And I second that. All in favor? Any opposition? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Imagine learning.
Ms. David Connor, District Administrator with the Office of Teaching and Learning. I ask for your support today to approve the funds for matrimony, which is our credit recovery program at GME and Oxford. This is a renewal of the current product we have. It's used in all of the high schools. We're expanding to include middle school support last year through the Age Academy. So for students who may need additional support, flexibility, and provides an option. So that increases, it's not unemployed, but 6. This product also is an NCAA approved credit learning program. So when students complete this, they're accredited. It does provide us options for credit recovery and first-time acquisition for classes that may not have there's flexibility built in. Currently at this point, last summer, over 400 students used this product to work on getting credits. About 1,800 students through pandemic and other issues that are behind credits. So this provides a flexible option for them. Either before school, during school, after school, summer. We have one schools doing boot camps during breaks to help them catch up. And this summer, we also want to use this program to help with our high school as well. So we're very use product, and they've been very helpful with us and helping us understand the product, how to use it, best practices, so we can increase and make these experiences easier and more beneficial for our students.
Thank you.
The accountability measures states the vendors agree to provide quarterly or biannual updates on the progress of the school years on course completion. And those, is that report conditional on either quarterly or
So
biannual?
it can be very flexible based on school. So there were, I think, one school who was doing it every other month, just so they could keep track and help them understand how to keep track of what worked for their grades. So with our professional development, that is part of this contract, but they will very much offer more opportunities for biannual. I work with the vendors, so they said if we were to do a monthly check, we'll do monthly checks, and it's based on buildings, it'll be with administrative teams, it'll be with teacher leaders, who's in charge of the program, it can be with district. And so based on that, they're very flexible with helping us. They're a very good teacher professional development library. So, and coming in this year, I work with a lot of schools, understanding how to get access, and then understanding how to do all the different student supports that are built in the program. So if that's learners, students who need different instructional supports and differentiation.
Out of the 400 courses, I did actually go online and look at some of the course offerings, which were expansive, but I didn't see any IT or network course offerings. Is that something you would expand into the high school programs?
Some of those may be within the CTE program. So that's, we do utilize the CTE library for computer science, technology, for some that may be missing those credits. It's also included in some of the AP courses as well, AP computer science principles. There's 2 or 3 different AP courses for computer science.
Thank you so much. The question I have, I like this breakdown, quotations and everything that is very, very true. My question surrounds communications with educators. Is there a way that they can streamline the communication in terms of, so, and I'm going to ask the question through something I experienced. So I have a child who is getting, trying to do the cost recovery, and but it's been 2 years that the cost recovery took place, but it's still getting email about what's your child's aging after 2 years. I think that should have stopped the moment the person moves to the next level. It shouldn't be. So I know it's not on the district part, but is it something we can, maybe it's a boarding system that they need to update so that, they don't continue to give the same thing. Maybe the kid will be getting it even when he finishes college and getting the education met and all that. And this is practical, this is personal. And I said, anytime I see anything on education, I'm going to bring it up. That how can we fix that? And my child is not alone. I know that with other children that we getting the same thing even 3 years after they recover from that course. So what is the purpose of paying for something that, you know, it's, it's a waste of resource? Let me put it that way for the lack of better understanding. So I think whoever is on that ingenuity or whatever the program, the software, I think we need to bring it to that. Once somebody covers and it's all set, I think they should stop the communication. Because at the end of the day, the district will get paid, will pay for it. Because it's a constant communication for something that is, for lack of better word, it's of no use. So please, I would like I can share that email so that you know what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, it's not to my email account, email address. And I keep getting the same thing from my son 2.5 years after. So please, we should get fix that.
So one of the things when we talk about professional development, it's helping schools understand when the students are done with that class, they no longer take it off the books. So right now, we do have a large number of courses that are open because, and I think part of what schools were not wanting to do is that the students are active. They don't want to close that because they close it. And so with this last year, we've been very cautious about closing those. I think part of that will improve is trying to help schools understand the process of closing this out, cleaning out the whole process. And so we're just looking at because you may have a student who started, 21, 22 in a class, but now maybe trying to take summer school and pop up their 2 different classes on the same subject. And so part of that is we need to clean that process out and understanding how to do that. So yes, we got to think about it.
All right, thank you so much. So I can stop getting we have a motion to recommend this for the second time. All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposition? The ayes have it. Thank you so much, sir. Cambridge.
Back again.
You back again? Okay. Welcome. How are you today?
So Cambridge Educational Services, we had an RFP go out to look for a vendor to help with SAT prep. There were 9 bids, there were 2 finalists. And on the selection committee, we have 3 principals, assistant superintendent at the time, and some other people that helped go through the process of selecting. And we selected Cambridge Education because they provide the most flexible service, the most comprehensive. And they would want to offer in-person tutoring and virtual tutoring. The others were not. The others are kind of like, here's our program to it. Cambridge is very much, we will create a program to fit your needs. And just beyond that, we're also looking at utilizing this as much as we can. High schools, there's accountability measures. So one of the things we miss in accountabilities is we don't get all the individual student data. So this will provide students the opportunity to take a pre-assessment and get data from that. So schools can use that for school through-it processes, understand their strengths, areas of their needs, or we can grow. But then there's a profile created for each student. So in the Cambridge company, then designs instructional strategies for students based on it. So it's kind of a two-tier method. It's one individualized for the student, but then also provides us a great deal of information for the school to do school programs and processes. And there's actually a platform just for school leaders to monitor this. This was also one of the things that we were more impressed with was the Chicago School District, public school district, has a study, and there was like 20 different vendors in these for SAT prep. And routinely, this one came up as the top performers was math games, reading games, math reading games, attendance. So it speaks to students wanting to be participate. So that's one of the things we really like about this. They do offer bilingual services for the in-person tutoring. So again, you talk about the flexibility aspects of having needs. We thought this vendor was very successful.
Very interesting.
what's the annual updates? Could they be done more frequently by term?
Correct, so part of that is that interface for students, for school leaders, district leaders. So that can be accessed at any point down the road. So I think that's the power of that. They can check in at any time to see kind of students in capacity. Are they taking something if needed to, where do they help? So it's a nice piece that has been missing for that space.
I have no questions.
My comment, another question is, I think at last finance committee we brought this up. In the staff recommendation, I know that the bottom line says 554,000. In the recommendation, we have something not to exceed 590,000.
That should have been the one.
This is better. This is because I remember saying that. I mean, 560 looks very close to 554. We're looking at 590. Talking about this. And it's a good, yeah. So we wanted to make sure that so hopefully the one that we presented to the bigger school board meeting next week will have one issue.
Yes.
Probably will switch to what? Maybe switch to one. Was it this one?
No, that one is right.
This one's the right one. That's the-
No, that's the right one.
Okay.
But what so they changed it to 560.
Okay.
So 560, not 590. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You submitted to us.
Yes.
So we have a motion to recommend subject to change in there. So more than a second, yeah. Second, all in favor? Any abstentions? Any abstentions? Brent in mind, thank you so much. Yo,
Oh, no, I didn't. Is that much ahead?
Good afternoon, Sadie Stewart, Chief Student Support Services. Nice to be with you today and to ask for your approval for our branching minds contract. So to give you a little bit of feedback, this contract would help support our MTSS policy, which will be hopefully coming to the board next week for approval, has already been approved by our policy committee. And it had been, I want to say close to 10 years that had not been updated. And this contract will help support them. Just so you are aware, we had 5 vendors that submitted bids. We had a team which comprised of some district staff, also some school-based staff, administrators on the committee, and they narrowed it down to 3 vendors, which we had them do some presentations again with the same committee, so that way we could see the actual program in action versus just solely in the bid. And it was unanimous that Rich and I got 2 guys out of one other panorama was the other one that came in second. But most school sites really had liked them more than Branch and Mines. However, the majority would like Branch and Mines. The contract would be for $290,000. It would support all of our schools, so elementary, middle, and high. And it is utilized in many districts that are very similar to ours, Chicago, San Antonio, which is great. And basically, as part of the MTSS process, we have 3 components: academics, behavior, and social emotional learning. So this platform would allow us to have almost a one-stop shop, where screeners could be utilized there. The interventions that schools complete would be done in this platform. Schools would be able to print out graphs, utilize the data system, and that has been something over the years that we have heard from schools that has been a challenge. Believe it or not, some schools are still doing paper, pencil, or Google Sheets. And sometimes as students move from school to school, it can get kind of lost in the shuffle. So being able to have one centralized system that houses all of these would be really great. We also had someone from the data team also join us to make sure that this system would speak to all the other systems that we have, which is great. So that definitely would be able to happen. And one of the things that this company did, which was great, is that the screeners we have came in English and Spanish. So for our dual language and bilingual classrooms, they would be able to also take that same assessment on the platform. So I ask you all to please approve our contract to Branch and Mice. This would be the first time that it's a new vendor for us. We have not partnered with anything with them before. It's a company actually, which was I think great, is that it was created by a teacher. So I think that's why the system is really easy to navigate and whatnot because it was created by a teacher. They have a lot of great things coming down the pipeline. So
Good.
The fourth bullet item states, K through 12, a robust item bank, 5,000 or more items with clearly stated items, reuse rules.
sure. So one of the things as part of the MTSS process, one of the things that they do, whether it's academics, behavior, SEL, and they're doing an intervention to support whatever that student need is. So a lot of the things that what they have here, what they're referring to, are the resources and supports. So they have like a library. So for example, if they're working with someone who needs some support, whether it's anything with academic behavior, they can go there into that library and they will find resources that will support whatever the targeted skill that they were working with the child on. So that's what that is, which is great.
I have no other questions.
And right, we have a motion to recommend this for special president.
So moved.
And I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any oppositions and abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wesley? No, engage.
So,
Engage now. Yeah, Professor, engage.
okay.
How are you?
I'm actually gonna be with you for the next 6 contracts.
Okay. So how do you? Just my turn.
So I'm Jennifer Athlon, I'm the Executive Director of Multiple Environments. And this first contract is Engage Learning. It is a contract of up to $2,231,199. It is for next school year. It is being funded through ESSER funds, so the contract would run from July 1, 2023 through end of September 2024. This is a renewal. If you remember, I was just here last month for Engage Learning. This contract has multiple components, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview. The first is that Engage Learning will provide every single teacher, administrator, coach in the district with a license where we will house all of our coaching data. They will also be providing professional development for use of that platform. The second is they provide the coaching required by our DOJ agreement. So every single teacher, if they do not hold an ESL certificate, is required by our agreement to receive at least 5 hours of coaching by a certified ESL coach. And we do have a lot of coaches who are going to get their ESL certificate, but they're not all fully certified in ESL. So we have this need to bring in additional coaches to provide that service and support. This contract also covers coaching for all of our dual language and bilingual educators, as well as is supporting with our lesson development. So as a team, the teaching and learning department has created ARC slide decks for all of our K through 8 teachers to use, and we have bilingual and dual language programs, so we want to make sure that we are replicating in Spanish, and they really provide a lot of support with that.
So that is the high level summary of the services that Engage Learning will be providing next school year.
Yes, the justification of vendor selection, it states the data will be extracted in an effort to centralize the district's data. Do you know what method that data, how it would be, would it be the traditional model for extraction? Would it be a more newer approach to that extraction method?
So for the past 2 years, we have been using Engage Learning again for the coaching required by our DOJ agreement, and we have to share this data with DOJ. A very specific way, they want to know exactly how many minutes of coaching each teacher has received, who was their coach, and Engage Learning has really been very user friendly. So I can go in and see every single teacher who's getting coached, how many minutes, how many hours, the frequency, the cadence. Because it's been such a successful and easy to use platform, we are now wanting to expand it across the whole district, where we will keep in-house all of our coaching data. So any administrator can go in and easily see the coaching that's happening in their building. But it's also easily able to be downloaded into like an Excel sheet that we can then share for reporting purposes to the department of justice.
I have no other questions.
Yeah, go on. This is-
Yes.
We have a motion to recommend.
So moved.
I second that. All in favor? Any abstentions? Any opposition to the ayes have it. West Side.
Westside is another renewal. I think I was here as well last month for an extension. This contract is for next school year, in the amount of $650,000. This is a vendor that we have been working with as well for the past 2 years as a consultant in the development of our in-house ESL certification program. So we want to continue working with them next year. Pending right approval, we will be piloting and really starting this in-house program this school year. And during this launch, we really would love to continue having their support in consulting services.
One question I have, I know that sort of last meeting, in terms of the capital, what is, I know we're trying to increase in the certification rate from 17.5% to 52%. At this current time, what percentage are we?
Yeah, the last half presentation that we shared at the State House, we were about 30%. So we are making headway, but there's still definitely a lot of more teachers. We have about 2,000 teachers in the district, so we really want to get to 500 certified ESLs.
And do we believe this contract is be able to increase that goal in a certain percentile?
So absolutely, our goal is right now, we've heard from a lot of teachers that the biggest hurdle for them is the cost, right? So we do have other programs that are approved to be ESL certified in the state, but on average, they cost about $8,000+. And so we want to have an in-house program that can really be, teachers will be able to do it at a much reduced rate. So we're hoping that they can also incentivize other people to come to our district because we would have this program. There's no other district who would have. You be the first.
So whatever happens to the partnership with Rhode Island College?
We do. We currently have 4 partnerships with all of the higher ed organizations that do provide ESL certification programs. Right now, teachers who are accepted, we do reimburse them. Once they pass their courses and become certified, it's able to reimburse them.
So it's not that they offer to help at no cost?
That is not our partnership currently with Rhode Island College. No, they have reduced the rates for our teachers, but not, like I shared, it's usually around $8,000 that cost our teachers.
So we think if the teachers will go with this kind of system, Are we gonna save money as compared to if they go and pursue that?
The teachers would save money.
Teachers.
Yes, because like we would still be paying for the certification, but for the teachers, it would save them.
We would have them sign an agreement, we would just pay them right, that they would continue in the district for 4 years, so that way they would stay. And we're very limited in what we can share because we haven't been approved for the program, but hopefully, once we are, then we can share what the, actual plan is, so that way the board we know.
Okay. We have a motion to recommend.
So
My second. All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Now you have to approve the commission.
No, we didn't approve for Ryan. Hey, we're not allowed only because
I'm
but
just kidding.
it's good, it's good. We're building the excitement, it's good.
Look forward to that.
Yes, that's so
Effective.
This was also when I came to last month with, if you remember, we had to make an extension because the usage of our translation and interpretation services has dramatically increased this year. So this contract is to continue with effective next school year for up to $1,100,000. And that amount is based on the average usage this year. So this year, we had between $80,000 to $90,000 worth of translation and interpretation services per month. Yes. So our schools, our staff are using it every single day to communicate with our multilingual families. And the reason why we continue to partner with them, so they are one of the only vendors who can provide translation in over 350 languages, and they do provide every language represented in our district, which some of our other vendors just are not able to do, don't have capacity to, and they're also one of the lowest per minute in-person interpretation vendors.
cost for that per minute price?
I do, it is part of our contract, and I can share that with you. It's actually based on the language, so it's a very long table, but I can share that with you.
Appreciate that. Is it the same price for, video, the person, the video, or is it?
It's different. So if you are doing interpretation, it's always per minute, but if it's in person versus video, those are different costs. And sometimes we also have them, like if we're running a presentation or a Zoom and we want to post that on our website, they do like a lot of captions, or so there's a lot of different services they provide, but each of them has a different, slightly different rate depending on the language. Spanish is one of our main languages, so that one is slightly lower rate than more less common language, like Urdu, for example.
I have no other question.
Out of this 350 languages, do we have like data of how many of those that we actually use?
Yes, I do have that. Every month, part of our report is they provide for us all the languages, the number of minutes, the number of calls, the number of interactions. It's a very long report. I can share like a summary table. What I can say is Spanish is the most often used. I would say 98% of all of our services are in Spanish. I have a breakdown of it.
I have one question. Do we recommend this, motion to recommend this for passage?
Yes.
So move and I second, all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions, any opposition, the ayes have it. Vista Higher Learning.
Vista. So Vista Higher Learning, I'm presenting today for a contract that's up to $381,000. This is a renewal. Last year, this school year, we've been using Vista for the first time as our English language development curriculum resource. So again, as part of our DOJ agreement, we are required to offer English language development as a core course for all of our multilingual learners. We did not have a set curriculum for this course until this school year, and we went with Vista, just with a lot of teacher, coach, administrative feedback. After administering access this year, we actually saw an increase in our access results after this year of implementation. I can share that compared to the 2022 access, about 65% of the students who exited were at the elementary level, and this school year, about 75% of the students who exited were at the elementary level. So we've definitely seen like a 10% increase in the students who exited after, again, this first year of implementation. So we're hoping to continue next school year with our second year.
So exit means that those who are now competent to.
Correct.
Not to do that.
Yeah, so our goal is, one of our top goals is that more of our multilingual learners will be able to meet their growth targets on this test called Access, which we give once a year. And in order to meet the exit criteria, to no longer need any additional support with English, we have a score of a 4.8 out of 6. And so we've seen an increase of students who were able to meet that score this year. Again, after using this program for the first time, we've seen that increase in elementary.
Question was, the accountability measurements states the second to last punctuation mark, training for district and school staff, and support of use of the product. However, the professional development line item is 0.
Yes.
Is this training considered a professional learning?
So Vista is wonderful because of the amount of the contract. All professional development is free. So anytime a school wants to have events like them come in person, they come in person, they come multiple times. They're very flexible, and so it's 0 because it's all free. So they're
It's included in.
on demand. Yes, we can have as much training as we need.
We live free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I put it here.
So that's 0. Again, it was free.
And it's good training too.
We can accept gifts from vendors, so I always put whatever they're including in the contract at no cost, because that's technically, it's part of our.
Okay.
Appreciate it. And no further questions?
And that's right. So motion to recommend it for passage.
Yes, please.
So moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposition? The ayes have it. Cengage.
So Cengage is the equivalent of Vista, but for the secondary grade. So 6th through 12th graders who are multilingual learners and are required to receive English language development receive that through Cengage. So this is a contract of up to $373,000. It is a renewal. We've been using Cengage for the past 5 years that I've been in the district. When we were considering potentially a different option, we did collect feedback from teachers and coaches, and overwhelmingly they wanted to continue using Cengage. So that's why we're continuing. But very similar to Vista, they provide both textbooks, workbooks, and also licenses for students.
This is for only middle and high schools.
Correct, yeah. We want to make sure that the resources we use for English language development are age appropriate. So we do have a different vendor. Cengage is more of a for older students, whereas the Vista is more designed for younger.
Justification of vendor selection, what the scale was for this vendor?
Yes, so every RFP that I put out always has a 100-point scale. And we only consider any vendors after review that score at least a minimum of 75. So of those who score 75 or more, we usually get them to present to a group, which in this case included coaches and ESL teachers and some of our administrative staff. And they, we talked about which one we thought was the best, and so Cengage was reviewed. We did this process, I believe, 2 years ago. So this upcoming school year would be the 3rd year of that RFP, and so then they have to do a new RFP after that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Motion to recommend.
So,
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And any abstentions? Any opposition? The ayes have it. Curriculum associates.
Curriculum associate, so also known as Elevation. But this is a renewal contract for up to $231,787. We have used Elevation for a number of years. This is a platform that houses all of our MLL data. And it is a requirement of the Department of Justice that every single staff member is easily able to access data on their MLLs. And so it is a place that I use every single day. It's a very easy to use, user-friendly platform. It also provides not only the data that we need for our MLLs, but resourcing of strategies that teachers could use to support their multilingual learners. And so that contract really has, it's a breakdown of the strategies that teachers can have access to, but also to the actual data platform and professional development.
And I wanted to provide some data points for you since I did not provide them in the summary. But this school year, we have had about 2,000 logins per month. So our teachers definitely use this regularly. During the school year, we track how many teachers have downloaded data reports. And there's been about 2,600 reports generated this year, and about 8,000 times the teacher has gone into the strategy section and downloaded a resource. So some of the resources might be things that they could be using with their students to supplement a lesson. And so that's just a little bit of data points that I thought would be helpful here now that we do use it regularly.
2,600 plus students.
An example of a report may be that they want to download a list of all their students and the home languages that their family speak, so that when they're communicating, they know, if they need an interpreter. It's one example of a report.
Justification of spending, it does say that it'll be utilized at the district school and classroom level. Could you give some examples of how it will be customized in the classroom level for individualized students?
So through Skyward and Clever, any person who is a PTSD staff member has access to the students that are tied to them. So as a district administrator, I have access to every multi-voter in the district. If I was a principal logging in, I would be able to view the data of every student in my school building. And if I was a teacher, I would only be able to see the data of the students that are assigned to me within my schedule. And so there are dashboards that relay the same information. You can see who are your active MLLs, what languages do they speak, who are students who are MLLs and also have IEPs, for example. But the students that will pop up will be the students that you are in direct contact with. So that's how it's differentiated. Thank you.
Questions?
Do we have a motion to recommend this for passage?
So moved.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any oppositions, any abstentions? Ayes have it. School kid.
Thank you.
And all said.
Now we're gonna be on this side for the rest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now let me see.
There's a few of us here, so good afternoon, it's still afternoon.
This one.
I'm Colleen Van Front, the Executive Director of Teacher Development. And so I'm presenting a contract, for School Kit, who would provide us with strategic planning, coaching, professional development, and resource development across literacy and math in all of our schools, K-12. It is aligned to several of our excellence in learning pillars, specifically around math and English language arts, and also our job embedded professional development, TAP metric, and our work-class pillar. So to give you some examples in those 4 categories, how we would get support from School Kit. So for strategic planning, all of the actions across our departments, they support with ensuring that all of those are aligned so that the experience from the school end is cohesive and has consistent supports and messaging. In regards to the coaching, which is the largest financial piece to this contract. So they do this in a couple of ways for us. Mainly this is tied to where we have vacancies. And so on the district team, we have specific folks whose job is to directly coach site-based ELA and math coaches. And so if there's a vacancy in that position, they serve in that role for us. They've been doing that this year, specifically at the elementary level and at the high schools. Secondly, if a school has a vacancy in either the literacy or the math coach position, they sit in that role to provide direct teacher support. So they would coach teachers directly. They could, they also support the administration team with data review, action planning around school improvement plans, facilitation of planning times for grade levels, so they can sit in that role up until the time we're able to hire into that role, which is why the contract is not to exceed, so we have that flexibility to not spend money when we have people in those positions. So that support is directly connected to the needs of schools. Professional development, overall, some examples of that would be unit-specific teacher-facing modules to support core instruction, at the last finance committee, you approved several of our brand new curriculum products. And so we want to ensure across the board this year as a just overarching strategy, we're always striving to offer more professional development opportunities for teachers and to reach more teachers. And so the options that they provide are, in this contract specifically, are around flexible PD options that could be used, that could be led by a coach, that the teacher could do asynchronously, we could lead virtually across all schools to form like grade level PLCs across the schools for upcoming units. And then resource development is actually connected to what Jen shared with you earlier. So the other contract focuses on those core lesson decks around the dual language and bilingual classrooms. Our team has led the work this year around the creation of the English version of those that aligns with our core K-8 ELA curriculum. And so this summer, we are working with our amazing communities of teachers to do one final round of revisions, and we've asked, or we're hoping to have become support to just make sure to do fine-tooth combing through those decks to make sure that they are up to the highest level of standards, so our students have the best instructional resources, our teachers have the best resources possible. So a couple of other pieces of this. It is marked as a new contract because you saw in the board summary the reflections from the folks who are currently engaging with our school kid coaches. And so we had a RFP process historically a few years ago related to mathematics. RIDE has approved them as a vendor for both mathematics and literacy. So because we're changing the source to a master price agreement, that's why it's listed as new instead of renewal.
Okay.
But because of their ability to really, throughout the years working with them, their ability to ensure that their supports, their resources, everything they do for us is aligned to our teaching and learning department and the other departments' vision, expectations, messaging, initiatives, we can ensure that everything is cohesive from that school standpoint, which is the most important. We don't want the schools to feel like they're getting mixed messages across the board and things are coherent for them. And we've also had some really strong feedback and ratings from the coaches and teachers that are
Excellent.
The other question I have is related to the proposed budget for the strategic planning component. I thought that was a little bit high for that type of package. Based on my research, I thought it was like $45,000 to $50,000 higher than the average.
So that's yeah, absolutely. So the strategic planning line item is broken into 4 specific sections. So one section of strategic planning works with the district executive level, so myself, around looking at the system across the board. Secondly, from that, because they're focusing specifically on ELA and mathematics, they actually would also do strategic planning with both Becca and Ruth as literacy and math supervisors and their teams that work with them to lead this work. And because we are, again, around cohesiveness and literacy across the curriculum, there's a separate strategic planning line where they'll work with the other supervisors in the other content areas to ensure that this messaging is funneled through all of the content areas. So for example, writing across the curriculum, what does that look like? How do we maximize those opportunities in every single classroom around literacy for students? Every teacher is a teacher, so how do we all? So that's why that line item is that person.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
I think it's some of the details that you provided, that is appreciated. I have another question too. We have a motion to recommend this. Second, all in favor? Any abstentions, any oppositions? Ayes, carried. Releases.
Thank you for your time and your patience. Craig Queller, I'm the secondary transformation officer for the
talk about not really Renaissance Learning, but that's the parent company of Star Diagnostics. Star is our district-wide K-12 benchmark. All students to take 3 times a year. This is not a new contract or a new product. The district's been with Star for about 20 years, the last 12 or 13 computerized. This is our computer adaptive standards online tests that we give to all students. This is simply a renewal. The good news is this year, next year, the year after, we have a fixed price increase. So it's the same cost as last year, hopefully the same next year.
Thank you. What is the meaning of cost not taken down by independent aspects? What is that?
We pay a flat rate for the entire district, so we have some flexibility if our enrollment increases. Sometimes you buy a product, you buy it per student, your number is variable. Our number is fixed on a 3-year proposal, so it wouldn't matter if we had an increase in new students, we can test them with no additional cost.
If we have double enrollment?
I think they would be upset if we had double, but in theory, yes, we can test them all.
Interesting.
Not new in Providence, this has been our district benchmark for many years.
Yeah. And this covers all schools.
It's all schools and all students, K-12.
So in case we don't have much agreement, we don't get money back since we can. Is that how it works?
The price would not be reduced, you're saying if you're
Yeah,
only declines? No.
Very many plans.
It's fixed price.
Okay, got you.
That's my other question. So,
So I asked
voluntary
when they
really,
will.
rather than have it, in that type of format, that you just say fixed rate or flat rate.
I think it's better that way, exactly. I think it will be better that way, because first come broken down in the United States. That does not go dollar amount. It's better like that. We don't have to break it down like that, but at least let us just break that as fixed.
That's good feedback, thank you.
Any other question?
Not at this time.
Do we have a motion to recommend this process?
So,
I second that. All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any oppositions? I ask that. Imagine that.
we
Back to the. All right, we have to do.
Back to this side.
So many on this side.
You've got the next 4 with me.
Okay.
So for math. So
Okay.
good afternoon. I'm Ruth Corley. I'm the supervisor of math for the district in the Department of Teaching and Learning. So the first contract I have is with Imagine Learning for site licenses and professional development for their Imagine Math online program in the amount of $164,000 for all of our middle and high schools. So this program was chosen by a RFP review committee consisting of school and district admin, teachers, and math coaches. It's a supplemental resource for additional problem-solving practice, foundational skills, diagnostics for students in support of the core math curriculum. So it aligns with our math curriculum from grade 6 through geometry, and then it also has an SAT pathway as well.
Excellent. Yeah.
One question I have is, in the justification of spending, second paragraph, it states that the math curriculum in grade 6 for geometry and also SATs. So is this specific for grade 6?
I did that as, I could have said grade 6 through 10, but because our Algebra 1 geometry, some students take it in 9th grade, 10th grade, but it goes middle school, grade 6 through high school. And then after that geometry class, so say you're in Algebra 2 for calculus stats, students would be on an SAT pathway in the program.
Thank you for that clarification. And then the proposed budget, the multiplication is by the number 16. Is that by school location?
Yes, 16 schools.
Okay.
Thank you. That's the only question I have.
I had a question too, but thank you for that. That's all you have?
That's all.
That's all I have. Was. Do you have a motion to recommend this?
So moved.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstention? Any disposition? The ayes have it. Mind education.
So the next contract I bring to you is for Mind Education for the digital product ST Map in the amount of $201,000. So this is a supplemental resource for our elementary students for math. So again, it was reviewed by a committee of stakeholders. It was chosen for its unique approach to digital learning, for schema building. It has a very visual approach to learning math and would be used as a supplement to our core curriculum.
Just more of a comment, I'm just really pleased with the excellent feedback from the teachers. It's an online person that, you know, like degrees online, many of the credentials online. I think it's a great program. I have no really other questions. Professional development, however, it says up to $30,000.
So I did that as kind of a, I'm not sure exactly if we will spend that amount, but just doing that flexibility to cap it. They do, so we have 13 of our schools have used them this year, and included in that site licenses, they do come to the sites and give a lot of implementation support. They have monthly meetings with the people who are kind of championing the product at the school site. So a lot of it is included in the site licenses. So this would just be additional professional development.
Yeah, because I'm looking at 19 licenses and 20 professional development, unlike the previous one, I got 16. So
I did an extra one for math coaches.
do we have a motion to approve? I second that. All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposition? The ayes have it. Bootstrap.
Okay, so I now bring before you a contract for Bootstrap for the product Bootstrap Algebra in the amount of $30,600 for 3 of our middle schools. So this is for an elective course that we are piloting at 3 of these schools. It's another way to engage students in mathematics. So what it is you learn, it aligns computer science standards along with math standards, Common Core math standards. So students in grades 6, 7, and 8, essentially they are designing their own video game. And through that, they are learning both how to code and they are learning math skills. And Bootstrap will also partner with us in aligning their program with our scope and sequence in our math program. So the contract is for professional development for teachers. So they get trained in how to use the product. And then after you get that training, you have free access to the product for life. So it's an investment right now in these teachers. There's also a partnership with the Department of Education through their Computer Science for Rhode Island program. So RIDE is CS4RI is funding 12 of the teachers, and we would fund the other 12. So we're very interested in that partnership with CS4I in ensuring the success of this program.
So what's the criteria for choosing this 3 schools? Why are you doing?
So we have a number of STEM electives that we're bringing to middle schools. So we have our schools that are doing Project Lead the Way electives, so hands-on robotics, engineering, architecture, things like that. These 3 schools do not have those Project Lead the Way electives, so it's giving them some STEM electives as well. So ensuring that every school is able to access math and science content in new ways and engage students in that. So that's why these 3 schools. If it's successful at these 3 schools, you know, perhaps we could really just also being able to focus in on 3 schools.
Glad to hear that, so that we can just grow in the opportunities and move on. So do we have a motion to recommend this person? So I second that. All in favor? Any abstentions? Any opposition? The ayes have it. U.S. Math Recovery Council.
And the final one, I have a contract for U.S. Math Recovery Council for up to $218,440. And this is for professional development, assessment resources and materials for elementary math interventionists, coaches, and special educators. So what Math Recovery offers, it's research-based program and really intensive professional learning around how students learn number concepts, how to sit with a with a child and identify what is it that they really understand about number development, to pinpoint the areas that they need to work on, and it gives you materials to work on with that student. So this is really a strong investment in our teachers in developing their own understanding of how to teach number, especially with students who may be struggling with number concepts. We have new positions next year, which are elementary math interventionists at the sites, and so a large part of this would be training them and to become math recovery certified through the specialist training, so really investing in those personnel. And then the other large aspect of this is training for our special educators to give them resources to work with students around math concepts.
The spending breakdown again, where it states up to. Yeah.
So I did that because we're still, so this is the maximum that we would spend. We're still working out the exact logistics of the number of sessions.
So it could be less.
It could be less, but it would not to exceed. Not to exceed.
We have a motion to recommend this proposal.
So
I second that. All in favor? Any abstentions? Just with the ayes have it. Diploma sessions. Probably the last one.
Good afternoon, my name is Becca Salsicus. I'm the supervisor of literacy, and I'm here to present the contract with Curriculum Associates for actually a number of iReady products. So we went through, similar to what Ruth mentioned, we went through a very similar process on the ELA side. We're reviewing a number of bids and proposals from vendors to fill a variety of something we will need to do in the ELA curriculum. So what this contract is going to do is cover a variety of those needs. So through this purchase, we're going to do the purchasing dynamic reading, which is going to provide tier 1 foundational skills to our K through 2 students. We'll also be purchasing the iReady Diagnostic Assessment Suite, the iReady Personalized Learning, which will apply to our K-8 students, and teachers will provide tier 2 and tier 3 intervention for our K through 8 students as well. Included within this is professional development and for all the products listed.
question I had was the new user professional development package. Do you have an estimated amount of number of teachers that will get this?
It will cover every teacher, every K-8 teacher will be involved, ELA teacher, so not any other secondary teachers in the middle school.
And how many of that cover the estimated 20 teachers, 100 teachers? Is it just going to cover them all?
It's gonna cover them all, yes.
Excellent.
It's a flat rate though, so it's gonna, yeah.
Thank you.
There's a number of, there's 2 products, so the personalized learning pathway, which provides students with individualized support, basically diagnostic assessment, and a teacher toolbox as well. iReady is providing both of those products for first year implementation at 0 cost. So we are getting those products for every student within that grade band.
And that's where it says NA, make subscriptions.
Yes.
Funding.
Right.
You have another question? I have a question about the page. I think it's a typo. So this is beginning July 1 of 2024 and ending June 30, 2023. Yes. You see that? So
I guess
I know it's not intentional. It's just that when I'm looking at beginning July 2023.
We'll have that reverse.
Please have that picture. Do we have a motion to recommend this for passing?
So with
And I
that
second
correction.
that with a correction. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? No opposition of the ayes have it. Thank you so much. We have 2 presentations.
Mr. Chairman, on the presentation for school board materials and services,
before we got here that directory was supposed to be an action item, so Chris Matisse to speak to that, but maybe he can present on it, and then we can move it to the regular board and docket it like outside the consent agenda, just to be voted on.
Yes.
Chair, just another question, it's off agenda, but are we, is it a possibility of a regular meeting in July? Finance time? Okay, so just, the board talked about recess, there's a lot of contracts coming up. Yeah. That would negate the, special meeting before the meeting on Wednesday. We can be flexible, obviously.
Talk about that.
We didn't do that.
Great, so there is one contract that was accidentally left off the agenda. So I am respectfully requesting that we present it as an informational item to the finance committee. So it can be added as a contract for an action item for the full school board. Okay, so I'll bring Christian what that,
What do you think?
forward.
So because it's not public science, but they want to bring it as information, but we can bring it as an action item next. We'll have the regular school board meeting, that's what they ask. I think it's okay. Because if we're able to go through it right now, we will lessen what we can this weekend. We'll have questions about it. Otherwise, it's going to be the same for next week.
So the reason why that we're asking for this exception is this is a contract that affects some of our non-public schools that use Title I dollars, and some of these schools want to use these vendor for summer programs. So we run these, yes.
This is helpful.
This is
I remember, so this is, this is for non-public schools that we are the fiduciary that pays out the title. So this is,
pass through.
yeah, essentially, yeah. So this is, I mean, it's district funds, but it's really for our private programs, our public.
Students that attend private programs.
So it's not what I'm telling you.
And so the other reason why that is as well, that this is not this wasn't a full RFP process. This is just picking up an option year of this contract as well. So it's already been through you and vetted as well. So just respectfully asking you for,
That's it.
okay? These are the copies, correct? Yes, absolutely.
So we can look a second look at.
Nice.
Great. Good afternoon. My name is Christian. I represent this department, as Chris said. First, I want to thank you both for your flexibility here. So the vendor on the contract that we're presenting today is Catapult Learning. So in addition to one-on-one and small group tutoring, which is the bulk of their work with our non-public schools, they also offer coaching, counseling, instructional aids, intervention specialists, STEM robotics programs, professional development, and summer programs, which adds to the urgency. Catapult's been a partner with PPSD in providing these services to our non-public schools that enroll Providence students, which we're mandated to support, and they've shown clear and consistent communication. That they're a strong partner. They have overwhelming approval from the non-public school leaders. A similar contract was approved in 2021 and again last spring in 2022. This year's contract, which is not to exceed 1.2 million, for less than last year's when the school was spent down their carryover funds, which RIDE previously allowed to roll over. That's a little context around the dollar figure. I think at this time, I just want to thank you again for your flexibility and questions.
Thank
Just the proposed budget, is not on the
Yeah,
numbers here
so I think this is the cafeteria list, with, obviously, with the,
per hour. per
right,
session.
so we don't, so we can't put a budget together because we're not sure what services each school is going to be used to go through one by one to go over the program plans. But we know that we're not going to exceed that dollar amount that's allowable. That's in the title budget. So,
To further add to that, the not to exceed amount allows for a little bit of flexibility once schools receive their carryover amount, which can be difficult to predict given that they're allowed to spend their funds down in theory up until June 30th.
I have a question. You said this is less than last year. How much did you spend last year for this?
The contract for last year was 1.5.
Yes, we saw there was a large carryover through COVID, obviously, so be able to get that class, that contract amount. Those are additional services provided. I don't see that the funding is flat, the service is still needed, obviously, so.
So the last part before the spending breakdown is that we're going to be having there's going to be progress report submitted to the district and timeline. How do you describe the timeline? Since this is a program for a few years.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So Catapult provides services throughout the year. The federal programs office meets with Catapult monthly, and though there was an attempt to add that type of a provision this year, I think that us as a district was still learning about the partnership and the best way to act on behalf of our non-public school students. And so, in addition to continuing monthly meetings with Catapult, we also meet with individual school leaders who are engaged in Catapult services regularly. At a minimum, that's 3 times a year. In terms of Catapult, our expectations for Catapult this upcoming fiscal year, they are going to be expected to produce a report at the end of the year on student and academic improvement.
That's actually one of my questions related to classification of spending. It says identifying any discrepancies in the administration of education programs, so something like that would outline those discrepancies and help to improve them over that transition.
Absolutely, that'll be a very important part of the contract, and each non-public school does potentially use different metrics or methods of assessing as well. So it is in part incumbent upon the non-public school leaders to partner with us as well to help provide that data.
So this is for both students, the teachers, and even the staff.
Correct.
All people involved. Good. So, yeah. So we can't take an action on this because it's not on the agenda. So, but I think we can report that we've gone through this and we can discuss further next week.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Did you need me to pull that up?
Yes, please.
Sorry.
You really know how to clear a room, I got that.
I tried to help her, I made it worse.
Those over to sit when we first came in. Pretty loud.
Yeah, I love it.
So Chairman, we'll dock those two items on the Wednesday agenda. The
Yeah, the one that.
catapult and the school board services contract?
Right.
Okay.
What Chiara is pulling up is what we present every year. To finance president to the full board is a list of materials and services for contracts that previously have been approved by this body, but we're just exercising year 2 or year 3 of 3 or option or PBACs or MPAs that we would see. So historically, the director of purchasing would give this presentation on this discussion item. She was left this year. So what largely is on here is, for instance, Dell, Apple, and all of those vendors entering into year 2 or 3 for the warehouse lease, so on and so forth. Skyward is on here as well. So we see in both columns what was approved in 23, what's projected to us fiscal 24. I think there's that big pocket that was should be new or it's just an exercise.
You will be providing the physical copies next week.
So there aren't physical copies.
Okay.
So we do this, so you don't have to go through that. So you already approved, so for instance, Skyward, you already approved the 36-month term. So we're coming back to say, we're in year 2 of 3. We're asking you to approve this dollar amount for the fiscal year 24. You know, this is something that I think Nina wanted. It was helpful for her to see is what year are we in with XYZ vendor, and how much are we paying, how much did we pay them last year? So I think it's a helpful exercise to go through.
Because I look at this payback tips, 0 for 23. And we're looking at 500,000 for what is that? I think it's good.
I'm trying to, I can't. Something's too big.
Yeah. This ending, I'm looking at that ending that we didn't do anything. So nothing, are you looking at what I'm looking at? You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
purified folks.
So we have a couple of them. Piggyback that item number 24 and payment FY 24/20. All these are nothing for 2023, but we're looking at 200,000. So can you, I think there's a couple of them. How do we explain that? Look at item line 20, Medify.
Yeah, purified folks.
Oh,
Yeah.
NA.
Yeah, frontline education, that's another one. LK, that's another one. Nothing for 2023, but we're having the projection for 2024. So if I go by your explanation that these are the things we've already approved,
Yes, so some of them, yes.
Okay.
And some of them were seeking to piggyback master price agreement 1112 via purified filters for $200,000 because the amount isn't the $200,000 threshold.
Threshold.
Yes. So even though we didn't go put out a large RFP, we're seeking other entities on how to procure those items and come asking for you to approve those.
It's good on this. Yes. So that's the, that was going on.
And eggs, yes.
Okay.
Also, this doesn't guarantee that we are going to use those vendors.
Mhm.
If we have to use those vendors, we want to make sure that we have the approval process in place. So we can use those vendors as well.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. You have one more, right?
Yes. I don't have anything for this one, they didn't give me anything
Okay.
for the
Let's go by this position.
Right here.
Oh,
It's a handout.
oh,
So it's a handout for a few reasons. One is we haven't gone through this exercise in quite a while, and I want to make sure that this format is meets your expectations. That's the cover sheet there. And if there's anything that we would need to make a change, we will definitely do that. So if we're looking at the cover, so these are our projections through, as of May 31st to June 30th, 2023. This is our best. So in the left-hand column, I think the cover sheet is our revenues. So we put together a budget of $426 million. We are projected for our revenues to come in at $418 million. Want to take a minute to go over and look at, we can walk through.
If I can just take a step back, I think we were with you in, it was either in the May or April meeting, and we were talking about as we were planning for FY '24, we talked about the current fiscal year, where we reached agreement with the city on their aid contribution over the past 3 years.
Right.
So as you'll notice, the main driver of this difference here is the city revenue, right? So, our expenditure variance is less than 0.5%, so that's relatively small. That main driver is the 143, so 130, the $13 million variance. So it's mostly that revenue shortfall that we're seeing. We've seen a couple positive developments on the revenue side from Medicaid reimbursement, but in general, that's what's really driving this variance, and that is the city aid contribution that we had in the current fiscal year.
$10 million.
In terms of the Medicaid reimbursement, with those increases due to the new rates for the under 21.
I think those are just because of the additional services that students need, and we are able to provide.
Both higher need and I think if I recall, we've had some compensatory services from.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
Sorry.
From during COVID and the pandemic when services couldn't always be rendered because people were in the middle of not in person. Now there's a lot more coming back both there is higher need, but also. Yeah, exactly, from buyers.
Stay on the revenue side. The expenditure side. One thing I would focus on is if we didn't have the $15 million swing, we would probably have, we would have a $4.7 million increase in revenue, which would,
Exactly.
which would offset our expenditures, and we would have, $2.8 million surplus.
Yeah.
So, our expenditures come in at as Zach mentioned, at $1.8 million. Doesn't even, it's not even a 0.5%
Right.
of our overall budget. So,
Yeah.
I think we're doing a great job of controlling our expenditures.
Correct.
There are some items on the expenditure list that are out of our control, but it's a balance of other items
Mhm.
that we can control to help with that offset.
Right.
On the expense side, the one other item I mentioned that is really driving the cost are our special education out-of-district placements.
6 million.
That has been both because of an increase in need and the number of students being identified, but also a challenge with obtaining certified special education staff. In order to provide those students with services, they would be provided out of district. So this is a critical area for us to focus on coming here. We've already planned, in the budget we increased the amount for the special ed line, knowing that it's probably going to remain higher than it has been historically, but our goal is to find ideally a cost-effective way to provide the same
services in the district.
Sorry, no, that's right.
One in direct expense of that is you'll see some of the transportation line is increasing costs as well. So that is the cost to transport those students out of district as well. So it's a direct correlation between the systems.
Right.
Sorry.
Your services expenditures, it says 440,000 for snow removal and 800,000 for moving.
Yes.
Is that moving to the new campuses? Is that moving from the old to the closures, combination?
Yeah, so great question. So that is a result of the move that took place in July for closing, moving to Bay, moving to Colorado. Also some classroom movements that are ready for facility repairs throughout the year, and then also anticipated moves in June as well.
One of those, for example, would be the 16 media centers in many of our schools, so we have to clear out those spaces, so they do construction, store them, and that's that has been something I think in terms of how we move forward. Like snow removal, the benefit of this new IFM contract is they will manage snow plows, so they'll be responsible.
So if there's any increase in the expenditures, it's on
It's
there.
on here.
So,
That's,
And then moving is making sure for, as we've learned through some of our capital work, there are things like furniture and moving and other items that frankly early on were not included in those capital plan budgets, that we're now learning like absolutely need to be because they're reimbursable with capital plan. So as we're doing some of these beyond this year, making sure we're including all the costs of those builds, because as you can see, the moves, well, they're not moves aren't just around the capital projects. That's all. So
There's a lot of fire code violations, cleaning out spaces, making them classroom spaces, and like I said, getting ready for some, like a classical, that's not a full renovation, but getting ready for some sort of capital, so certain ones of that building will be closed. And, 440,000 for snow is a lot of money. Even it didn't snow this year, but we.
So have to hire the.
No, yeah, so,
supplies.
correct. And I think the vendor was called out quite often because there was a lot of ice this year as well. And we did plow 3 additional lots to make space in Colorado. So, it was a lot.
Okay.
It's, we know it is, we are doing our best to get that $10 million further down. We'll be back with final numbers after we close out our fiscal year. I would think, we can definitely come in August with June projections, but those will be unaudited, if you will. And then we can come back in September, July, anything will finalize. Let's see how see how good I am.
Hopefully some miracle will happen.
Well, it's, we plan for rainy days. Anticipating some of this year.
You have to give me this one.
I would like you back, so it doesn't get out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can. Want yours? No. So, how do you want to proceed for next week with this? Is it, would you like should we do a presentation to the full board, or
I think, what do you think? Yes.
A full presentation if you wanted to, yes.
Okay.
were these historically presented at the full board or just?
Yeah. I mean, both ways. I mean, it's been a while since we said these. Sometimes it would be for an informational or for a school board.
Yeah, my 2 cents is might be working with that when it's added or final at the end, but that's just.
I think it's better that we do when it's finalized. Yeah, when it's finalized.
Just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
I believe what I'm thinking, it's better when everything is finalized, so that we can share it. Yes.
But
Happy to share it with you.
yeah, happy to continue on that next fiscal year with quarterlies, absolutely.
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second. All in favor? Thank you so much.
Just touch me.